Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and just a couple of announcements. This Wednesday we'll be posting a video on the member site, a quick morning workout. It's good timing because this time of year everybody gets a little flaky about exercise, so doing something that's quick and easy and you can stick with and maybe keep up your exercise habits during the holiday, always a good idea. Next thing, Thanksgiving is coming up. I cannot believe it's already that time, but we do prepare meals here for Thanksgiving. Of course, the local people can pick up their food, but if you're far from Columbus and you would like to have us prepare your Thanksgiving dinner, we can freeze it and ship it to you, and we do that for quite a few people every year, so let us know about that. And then holiday gifts. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think most of the people I know need another sweater or a tchotchke to put on their table. Better to buy them healthy foods, gift certificates to the Wellness Forum, yoga classes, workouts, massages. I do all kinds of things, but we have some wonderful gift products here, including Dell's gingerbread biscotti. And it's very important that you call the office and buy all the biscotti, because if it hangs around too much, I start eating it because this stuff smells so good. I mean, this building smells like gingerbread starting right after Thanksgiving until the rest of the year. So anyhow, they make great gifts. I have people ask me all the time, you guys are making those gingerbread biscotti this year, right? You know, kind of hinting around, please send them to me. So make great gifts for people and other things. We have other gifts ideas too. So watch our website, call the office, and we can help you also. All right, a couple of things to talk about today. And the first one, I love this article I'm going to report to you, because a lot of people think that athleticism is for the young and that older people, particularly if you've been sedentary for a long time, you know, maybe you can get active, but you can't get really like fit and athletic. So not true. Researchers from Texas Presbyterian Hospital took 12 sedentary people and they put them in a one-year training program. And they were provided with supervised training, and then they were evaluated using things like echocardiogram and cardiac MRI, other tests. Okay, so after initial screening, cleared for exercise, the 12 subjects started exercising between 30 and 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week. And they were doing either walking or jogging or swimming or cycling, something like that. And then after the first few weeks, exercise intensity and duration were increased. And at 9 months, a long run was added to the weekly schedule. And by the end of the year, the participants were spending an average of 7 to 9 hours a week engaged in exercise. So that's all good news. They all stuck with it, and they all really did a lot of exercise. All right, so that's all good. But the changes in the physiology of these people who were formerly sedentary, no exercise, were really remarkable. By the end of the year, the participants had experienced changes in both the left and right ventricular structural part of the heart, changes that are only seen in like very elite athletes and Olympic athletes. So their hearts had become significantly stronger. Their physiology had changed. Now, at the end of the year, all of them completed an endurance event. 10 of them did a marathon, 1 did a triathlon, and 1 did a 100-mile cycling event. So let's just get real here. There aren't any pills or surgical procedures that strengthen the heart and cause formerly sedentary people to have the hearts of Olympic athletes, okay? And there aren't any pills or surgical procedures that get people fit and active. Only exercise helps people get there. Now, everybody doesn't need to complete an endurance event, although I have to say, having run a few marathons, it is fun and it's worth doing. But the exercise recommendations that we make at the Wellness Forum are very similar to the ones that where these guys ended up at the end of the year in terms of the amount of activity. What we tell people is you need to get to 45 to 60 minutes in your target heart zone 5 to 6 days a week, and you will become fit and healthy and strong, and you'll have great balance and coordination, and you'll be able to live on your own until you die. This living till you die thing, we really need to focus on that. It's a good idea. And people say, well, this is time consuming. My gosh, that's several hours every week. Let me tell you something, it's a whole lot less time consuming than how much time it takes to be sick and have surgeries and take drugs and go to the doctor's office and stand in line at the pharmacy. So get out there and move. And no matter how out of shape you are right now, you can get in shape. These guys at the end of the year, like Olympic athletes in terms of the structure of the heart. All right, now, every few weeks an article appears in some major publication that apparently refutes the wisdom of eating a low-fat plant-based diet. And so what happens, there's a whole lot of buzz, everybody's talking about it. The people that are eating paleo diets and animal foods diets, they think that they're vindicated, and those who eat a plant-based diet go on to the defensive. And the fact that this happens with a great deal of regularity is an argument for teaching members of the public how to review and understand scientific information. A lot of our members here who've been coming to classes, taking classes for a long time, are inoculated against this type of thing. They just roll their eyes, oh, there we go again. It's 3 months later, due for another episode. Okay, so this past summer, Time magazine featured a cover story titled Eat Butter, and they had a big picture of butter on the cover, with a byline suggesting that scientists who have previously claimed that saturated fat's not good for you were actually wrong. The story was based on poorly constructed research studies and gross misinterpretation of data. Now, I don't like to spend a lot of time on this, but believe it or not, even though it was last summer when this article came out, I am still today getting inquiries about it. Did you see this? What do you have to say? You should respond to it. I wish I had time to respond to all the crazy things that people write about, but I just try to pick the ones I get the most mail about. So, in my opinion, the article was written in part to a response to a new book that came out at about the same time called The Big Fat Surprise: Why Butter, Meat, and Cheese Belong in a Healthy Diet. And I know I'm going to butcher this woman's name, but Nina Teicholz. And by the way, the same thing happened when David Perlmutter's storybook called Grain Brain was released. I mean, both of these books are awful. The research, if you can even call it that they cited, doesn't support the statements in the books. And the work doesn't meet our standards for undergraduate research work. But the books get a lot of attention for two reasons. First of all, because their publishers promote the books, understandable. And second of all, because they tell people what they want to hear. Eat a lot of meat and cheese and dairy and butter. There's a population out there that really wants to hear that that's true. Now, Teicholz's book focuses on the supposition that the Inuit populations in the Maasai enjoy excellent health and that the incidence of heart disease is very low in these populations in spite of the fact that they eat a diet rich in animal protein and fat. But I have talked about this before, and I wrote about it in one of my books, Solving America's Healthcare Crisis. If you look at the research, the Inuit populations in countries like Greenland and Canada, their health statistics are always worse than the regular citizenry of those provinces in Canada in which they live and in countries like Greenland. So it's basically false what she's saying. And as for the Maasai, there was a very interesting study published many years ago where young Maasai men were autopsied and shown to have the arteries, the atherosclerosis of 90-year-old American men. Young Maasai men have a life expectancy. Most of them don't reach the age of 45, and so they die before the signs of heart disease, like heart attacks and that sort of thing, become really visible. So again, this idea of pointing to these populations as the models of health in spite of the fact that they eat all this animal food, absolutely false, and the research refutes it. Well, Teicholz also criticizes Ansel Keys and his study of diet and heart disease in several countries in the 1950s. By the way, just for the record, Ansel Keys lived to be 101. I think he was following his own dietarian Feinstein, a low-fat, plant-based diet. But in any case, she claims that his data were refuted by a statistician who reviewed Keys's data and said, well, if he had included more countries, that it would have come out differently. But actually, the guy that reviewed the data, a guy by the name of Jacob Yerushalmi, probably butchered that one too, but in any case, part of his problem is he included countries in his review that didn't have good records in terms of reporting disease incidents and survival rates and that sort of thing. So very, very fuzzy mixing of data. But be that as it may, even with the addition of those countries, the correlation between saturated fat intake and cardiovascular disease still held. And if anything, the link between animal protein and heart disease was actually a little bit stronger. So I could go on and on. I mean, the article in Time magazine was filled with so much ridiculousness, and Nina, whatever her name's book, filled with so much ridiculousness. We could spend till this time next year doing video clips on this stuff, but in my opinion, it's not worth it. If we can identify 2 or 3 areas of misrepresentation and misunderstanding, then we can kind of write the rest of it off. So here is the deal. My message to people who are eating a health-promoting diet: do not be concerned with people who use poorly written books and pieces like this to support their dietary habits. It's a distraction. We spend way too much time and energy trying to argue with them and convince them. We're not in the convincing business. We're in the sharing business. And by the way, in case you haven't figured this out yet, we don't convince many people eating a paleo diet not to do it if they really like that diet. They're not interested, and they let that be known by not responding. So just smile and remember that Wellness Forum Healthcare will be here when they develop coronary artery disease or diabetes and are ready for help. We're going to be in business to help them then. All right, so that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.